Eric or check your login credentials. Try again.
Okay, it's 9 a.m. I'll call the public safety meeting to order at this time. Becky, would you do roll call?
I sure will. Mike Copine,
Here.
John Nicholson.
Here.
Marilyn Shippert, Keen Hudson,
Present.
Jack Scrogstad,
Here.
Mike Zeman.
Here. Okay, for anyone that has a cell phone, if you would mute it or turn it off, that'd be appreciated. Okay, at this time, I'll go ahead and go through the people that we have out in the back area there, the center field. I'll move. Stacy, do you have any comments or anything? Okay. Nothing? Okay. Mr. Lally. Okay, this is going to be a short meeting. Mr. Boonstra.
No, sir. Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Has everybody had a chance to look at last month's meeting notes? And are there any corrections, additions, or any changes to be made?
Just a couple comments. John is a member of this committee and he was present, and then it also says other attendees and John's listed again. I saw that too. He was super active.
He was in and out of the room too many times. That's what's
And then
wrong.
there was another thing that was kind of a, towards the very end.
You know, I wonder, Marilyn, if that might not, could that be a glitch that the people's, you know, they're showing up twice? Like, because I remember once that when I looked, Marilyn's name came up twice in that similar nature. Oh, no problem.
Yes.
I mean, I'm not trying to rub it in again or anything, but I'm just,
It's a big person.
Parker Road already said it's a 12-stage plan.
Okay. Oh, under new business is what I was talking about. Motion, okay, I guess this is okay. Motion to send appointment resolutions to executive committee, and then the second motion to send and the names to people. Kind of seemed redundant, but I don't remember how we did it.
I think that's what we did. Yeah.
I think there were two and we motioned to handle both of them at the same time.
Okay, and then we motioned. Okay. It just seemed awkward to me. They both say send it to executive.
Microphone.
Not a big deal, but I want you to know I read the minutes.
Well, I appreciate that. There's one person that reads it. Thank you, Marilyn. I remember it.
Okay, anything else under the previous minutes at all? Taking those comments into consideration? I'll ask for a motion to approve the minutes. So moved by Mr. Hudson, second by Mr. Nixon. So, Mr.
That's me.
Can I have some of that stuff they got in their coffee? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the same. So carried. The claims, did everybody have a chance to look at the claim sheet that we had in our packet? If so, are there any questions or anything to be pointed out on that?
And the claim sheet really is not here in this folder. It's, you gotta go to the resource folder to find claims.
That's right. It would be under the,
So the reason we changed it this month was because the treasurer's office to put together the reports happens after the agenda is posted. So what we were doing was we were having different dates on the claims report. So now we're just throwing the committee claim reports into the resource folder and onboard, and then the full report will be on the county board agenda. So we just wanted all the dates to coincide. Does that make sense? You look perplexed.
I run the claims committee, so we know Jack and Keith, where can they access?
So I sent out an email saying that in the claims, in the resource folder under claims reports, they'll all be under there. So, yeah. You're welcome.
They don't.
Okay, we'll go into the department head reports. Stacy, anything?
We continue to move forward with the new computer program and its data conversion. They're still working towards that. We're also beginning to have conversations in regards to the changes that we anticipate will start taking place January 1st with the pretrial bond reform. So those are just some conversations that we're in the beginning stages of within our office, because those will have significant impacts on how we do business day to day.
Okay, anybody have any questions of Stacy? Okay, if not, thank you, Stacy. Nancy? Sorry,
Morning. I
it's
just-
Monday for me. I'm just back into the swing of things. I'm
I-
sorry.
Okay. I just wanted to let you all know we're wrapping up the court technology grant. We should have our courtroom monitors up probably this week, but they probably won't be running maybe a month or two, because we're going to get a program that we have to sign on to get them to work. So, but we're almost there. So computers are in, copy machines are in the courtrooms. So we're getting there. So we're almost finished.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Amy? Okay, thanks, Amy. Mr. Lally? What are we anticipating with any grid activity? Do you think this is going to cause any major issues for us there?
Consumption going on lately. Blackouts.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Kevin, ComEd just invested a lot of money. I think it was around $100 million in the grid updates. How will other companies that are not updated, like ComEd, affect our grid?
We're kind of disparate, so nobody else has an effect on us. Camera down south, below us, so they don't affect.
Okay, just curious, because that's what I had always heard, that, you know, although ComEd's done their due diligence, some of the others haven't. We may be affected by them, but if we're safe, that's good. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much.
We have something big like New York did or California did for one system to fail with others.
Thanks, Kevin.
Just an interesting comment. 4 or 5 years ago, I put in a full house generator. One of the guys in my subdivision said, "Oh, Marilyn, you don't need that." I was sure when I retired from ComEd that everything was perfect, and I'm never going to put something like that in. He had his installed yesterday.
Yeah, I learned early on that you are very cautious on making comments like that, because if something's going to happen, it will.
It just,
Any other questions?
he was so, you're never going to need this. And
Yeah. I've been there and done that a couple of times. Anything else for Mr. Lally? Okay. Any questions? Any other comments? Okay, thanks, Kevin. Appreciate it. Mr. Boonstra, any comments?
Just to kind of piggyback off of what Stacy was talking about before with the Pretrial Fairness Act coming January 1st, 2023. I spoke a little bit with the ARPA committee last week about this, how there's going to be impact of a financial nature on the county. Bond not coming in anymore. Circuit clerk's office won't be getting the 10% that they normally would be getting off of that. There's going to be a big revamp in how the criminal justice procedures are moving forward. I gave the example of Kane County right now is currently looking at upping their staff quite a bit. The public defender's office is putting in a request for an additional 21 assistant public defenders. And again, King County is significantly bigger than what Lee is in terms of population, but just in put it in the back burner in your mind. The state's attorney's office is looking to also include in the next budget an additional 61 assistant state's attorneys based on how the bond reform is coming forward and how the changes in the law are going to be with body cam review based on the speedy trial issues that will come into effect when bond is no longer, or cash bond is no longer a part of our criminal justice system. So that was one of the things I brought up with ARPA because it's going to affect not just my office, the public defender's office, the sheriff's office for having bailiffs available for weekend court, having court reporters available for weekend court, having the clerk's office available, Stacy's office available. There's going to be a lot more manpower and more hours that are going to have to be put into to adapt to that system of living. So just put that on your radar so that you're aware of what I discussed at the ARPA meeting and what may be coming down the pike.
Yes, John.
Okay. Stacy? Are you gonna have to budget any more money? Yeah. You know about how much?
No, we're in the beginning stages. No, not at this time, because like Charlie said, we're going to have to hold weekend court. So we're going to have to show up in person. So that is going to affect the budget. Yes.
Exactly the same as what Amy said. There's a big unknown right now. And that's what's kind of making it very difficult, even just to do a budget for next year to try and project what this is going to look like. It's something that I think we've got a good team and a good staff of people in the courthouse to try and get this figured out for all of us to work together and make it as fluid as possible. But it's just kind of a stay tuned situation.
Elephant stands, the grass gets trampled. That's what's happening right now.
Anything else? Any other questions for Mr. Boonstra? Okay. Quarterly reports, I'm not going to worry about those this meeting. Maybe we'll catch them the next meeting on collection of unpaid fines. Dangerous and abandoned buildings and everything that we've had under the sheriff's jurisdiction, it probably some still falls under his jurisdiction as far as paper service and everything, but we have had a group that has met and has had some significant indication of movement on a couple of locations. Mr. Boonstra, would you highlight on that for me, if you would, please?
I'll do as best I can with it. So we did meet, it was last week, Tuesday, yeah. Met with the attorney that's helping us out with that, Tim Zollinger. We got to the default judgment on one of the properties, so that's a good outcome there. It's just a matter of now looking at how we will be either deconstructing a property, going through the abatement process, whatever it may be on these properties as they come forward. So we got together, met and discussed what the next steps will be, what other properties we can look at. I think we've got a pretty good grasp on what the problem properties are around Lee County and in what order we need to start looking at in terms of health and safety issues and what will be the biggest impact for the county. So the biggest part that we're just looking at right now is how to come up with funding for the deconstruction, the destruction of those properties now that the county is able to make some movements in taking over the county or the property itself. There's some grant possibilities out there, and I know that there was some discussion of ARPA funding with it as well, but I think that it's a good direction for the county in what we've been able to do in at least this first project.
Anybody have any questions? I think it finally clicked with the activity that has now started and the authorization for demolition specifically on one property. And I think the group that meets is, we're going to just continue to add 2, maybe 3 more to the list for action to pick up on once we conclude with those that we have pending already. And just kind of keep it a perpetual situation. And then eventually move into some of the larger facilities like 251 and 30, the old Matera Supper Club. That's on the list right now. There are several others that are on the area also. We have discussed the old Eldina School and some more topics on that. There's a couple of other old schools that have been abandoned. We've got one that's in Lee Center. One that was down in Maytown area was demolished, and there's been a new home built on the top of that here a couple of years ago. So it's a work in progress, and hopefully that will continue and we can be successful in helping the county get rid of some of the what we would consider dangerous areas and abandoned areas. So if you don't have any further questions, I will just keep moving on. Okay, Mr. Scrogstad, UTV.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. UTV committee met May 27th. And just before I continue on with what we did there, later on in the agenda, there's an ordinance, but I'll be making a motion to table this in reason for the most recent accident took place in our county involving a UTV. So just let you know that, I'm going to give this report, but I'll be asking to, table the continuation of this at least for a month. But anyways, with that said, we met May 27th, a UTV meeting. There are some notes in the resource section of onboard, and it is located in, as soon as I can bring it up. I had it in my mind how to get there. You go to the resource folder called committee only docs, and then it will say UTV committee. That's where some of the documentation is that I'd like to have the committee take a look at it on their, on their times. But one of the things that, just to kind of give you an update on where we're at, Zach, do you have that map that he's going to put on the screen there? Everything in green is listed as townships that have completed an actual ordinance. And I'll kind of explain why the other ones have not, or I think they have. The orange boxes represent cities within Lee County. We still have to reach out to these particular cities and come to, an agreement with those that have UTV ordinances within their confines, and then, or have these other cities put together their own UTV ordinance if we're going to be allowed to operate inside there. So those are what I have right now, actual ordinances. So it kind of gives you an idea of what's going on. Now in your resource folder, there's a letter, I think it's titled TORMA letter. And basically it's a letter that was sent to all the townships in Lee County that they oppose our UTV ordinance for extended more liability reasons. And I met with them, or I didn't meet with them, but I spoke with them on the phone about a month ago, and kind of helped me explain a little bit about what their concerns were. And the conversation of that is also in the resource under our the folder called resources of our conversation, like a summary of that. I'm not going to sit here and just explain everything. You guys can go ahead and look at that. One of the things that I want to look at in the future is that there is some legislation that was presented to our Illinois legislators, and they were shot down by a couple of local legislators. They were shot down And they were to that way we can have the 64 inches and smaller UT vehicles. Our ordinances are 65 to 75. So we were trying to, or these legislatures were saying that to have these 64 inches and less UTVs operating the roadways that have speed limits of 65 or 55 miles an hour or over, and they got shot down or they died in committee. And so when I reached out to this particular legislator, McCombie's office, they said they had some pushback from the state police, Illinois Farm Bureau, and Secretary of State Police. Can't think there was another one in there. That conversation was also in there. And so there was, they voiced their concerns on that. And of course, I could give my reasons as to why I thought, why would the state police worry about, township roads? They're mainly on highways. Secretary of State, they pretty much handle title work. And so I don't know why they would be so much involved, worried about it. Farm Bureau, I'm not sure why they would oppose this at all. But I was thinking that maybe in this new, in the midterm elections coming up, I'm hoping that we have a different set of leaders in our representatives in Illinois, that maybe we could even get maybe UCCI to help lobby this. I'm sure there's other counties that might be interested in, having this, in these rural counties like we are, to have the ability to have these UTVs on the roadway. So I think that I even after this thing gets, going for us, I think we should continue to, push forward to this, to maybe possibly, create a law for these other vehicles that are smaller than what we're presenting. I'm just saying that, that's what I would like to, forge for. That's my goal, for the next year, if I'm elected. So anyways, that's just, okay, I'm sorry. Also in the UTV, there was a motion that was made to bring whatever we have right now for the UTV ordinance, was to bring it back to this committee, to turn around and get it ready for the full board. So that's what our committee decided to do with what we got and I'm sure probably other townships would probably come on board later on, which is fine. But again, there's just a couple of other fine tunes we got to do, and I can get to that before we decide to put it in front of the full board. With that, that's any questions either you can ask me.
Any questions for Mr. Sprogstad? Excuse me.
Just a
Mr. Hudson.
comment. I do have a concern over this Torma letter and the liability that may fall upon Lee County. Till that's really, I know anybody can be sued, but I just, the benefit of the citizens in this county, I just think, I don't know how we can adjust it, fix it. But if there's a possible ability of Lee County being sued over this, I think it's something we definitely should look at.
Any other comments? Jack, I have a question regarding Secretary of State. In one of their sections, and please, I didn't memorize it when I read it. When we talked that day and you told me where to access all of the reports that have been done on it so far, I did and sat there and read them. But in that specific section regarding the registration of the UTVs and everything, it says that the Secretary of State shall license the vehicles that fall under that section. How will that affect or apply to what we're trying to do or accomplish?
Well, that was House Bill 5281. And this particular bill died, so it's not going anywhere if that's what you're regarding. But this was basically, they were saying that the Secretary of State would collect fees for registration, and they split it up into where the different funds would go to kind of give everybody in the state a piece of the pie,
Right.
so to speak. And it would just turn around and says that provides that vehicles with a registration plate may be operated on any street, highway, or roadway where a posted speed limit is 35 miles per hour or less, or any county highway or roadway where the posted speed limit is, oh, I already read that, where the posted speed limit is 55 miles an hour or less, may make a direct crossing upon certain roads. So they were basically saying that with introducing this bill, the Secretary of State would then, register these, obviously after we've created an ordinance. To believe that's how this would kind of would go into that flow. And then they would be licensed, in a way, but it's just a way of, I'm sorry, but maybe it's just a way of the state trying to get some money. And I thought that maybe this legislator was trying to say, hey, here we can make some money with this. I don't know. That's just my thoughts. If that's what that is or not, I could be wrong. But it failed anyways. So.
Okay, any questions on that element at all? And I think the only other question I have at the time, changing the dimensions to suit our ordinance, how is that going to affect those who are operating the machines with the differentiation of the sizes of them and not be in conflict and still be arrested or cited for violation of state statutes, although we have local ordinances that could possibly get passed reducing the size or,
In the section of the UTV where we can create an ordinance, they define a UTV and they define it as 65 inches to I don't know, less. I don't know how much lesser it would be, but 64 inches or less. Our ordinance defines the UTV that we're going to ordinance at 65 to 75 inches. So if a UTV is operating on a roadway and their width is less than 65, they would be violating our ordinance and they would get an ordinance violation.
so they're going to be at the same level at the state requirements right now then at
Right.
65 inches.
And so what I'm wanting to do is to later on, maybe we're not going to get nothing done at this time of the year, is to, when the new session comes in, reach out to any new leaders in our area to propose the similar verbiage that was presented and shot down, but maybe the UCCI or some other, people that could help push this forward. And, any kind of, I don't know if we had anybody that was there to represent that particular law. With my understanding, it was just shot down because state police was against it. Secretary of State was against it. Bureau of Farms was against it, for safety reasons. But, in my opinion, I think these UTVs are safer than motorcycles on the roadway. You're in a seatbelt, you're in a rolled cage area, you just seem you're just a little more safer than a motorcycle. And even insurance policies. I did some research. I went to my insurance agent and I'm like, you insure these UTV vehicles? And yes, we do. They insure them under their motorcycle policy. So I says, now does it allow you to have the roadways? He read it under his, he says, most municipalities allow these to operate on the roadway. So they are insuring these UTVs on the roadway, insurance companies. So.
Yeah, I checked with a couple of them too, just out of my curiosity, and they didn't hesitate to say, oh yeah, we insure them.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah. For roadway use.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Yeah, did the Farm Bureau come out? What did they say?
The only thing that I have, when I said the Farm Bureau is, if you go to the UTV, maybe I don't have it. I thought I might have had it in there. Okay, this is an email from McCombie's office. And I had just asked, what issues that were addressed that may have prevented the bill from passing. That would be greatly appreciated. And it said the Secretary of State, IDOT, Illinois Farm Bureau, Illinois Association of County Engineers, Township of Illinois, and the Illinois State Police opposed due to safety concerns. That doesn't tell me what they were, just that those particular entities were like, were against this House Bill 0720, which was I don't have a UTV. I don't have anything against UTVs, but I know virtually every farmer has at least one, sometimes two or three, for miscellaneous purposes. And I'm curious why the Farm Bureau would come out against.
I would be interested in seeing a written rendition of their denial of wanting to be involved in it. And I'm not challenging them because primarily the UTVs were developed for farm usage, and you might as well tell the farmers they can't have tractors.
Well,
You
there
know.
is, currently is an ag exemption that farmers can use.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't want to share the road. I don't know. That's what somebody commented once, that they don't want to share it with everybody else. Share that. But Marilyn, and I'm just, you're the farmer on this. Like, do you have to license those UTVs? You just have a total exemption for farm use?
Yes.
It's like a track.
Implement of husbandry,
Okay,
what it falls under.
okay. Just curious. I don't know.
I throw an old hand sprayer in the back of mine.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't work. There.
Yeah, hey, hey.
If I was ever pulled over.
Makes him look busy.
I shouldn't have said it. Yeah, Charlie, John
Recorded now, too.
Yeah.
I was gonna make a we have one that travels around town in Amboy that's kind of set up like that, but I'm not even gonna question the usage of it or how many, fence lines or anything get sprayed by it other than recreational use of it. But hey, the enforcement's out there. If it happens, it happens. That's all I can say. Any more questions for Mr. Scrogstad? Okay, what do we got next? Okay, I think we have two resolutions here. One of them appointing Mr. Stephen Howell Jr. to the Emergency Telephone Board System. What am I missing?
Don't we have to deal with Jack's ordinance here and table it?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we do. Jack, you were going to continue with that. I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
didn't mean to cut you short there.
Yes. I don't know. This is dated 6/1/22. Okay. All right. I believe this is the most recent updated draft of this. This is what was sent back to this committee to then turn around and discuss it and then pass it on to the county to approval. But I'd like to make a motion at this time to table this ordinance at least for a month, until at least next month, for consideration of the most recent actions we had. And plus, I'd like to still reach out to the cities and get some.
Okay, we have a table of the motion on the UTV ordinance. Second,
Second that.
Okay, seconded by Mr. Nicholson. Any other discussion on it? Did you have a question, John?
No.
What was there? Okay. Motion by Mr. Scrogstad, seconded by Mr. Nicholson. All those in favor to table the situation until next month, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So move. We got one resolution. Okay, I misstated the number of resolutions we had. We have one. Right. We have a resolution on the table here to appoint Stephen Howell Jr. to the Emergency Telephone System Board. Any questions or anything on that? If not,
It says it's replacing a vacancy. Any idea who?
Right. So we,
Okay.
yeah, right there at the top, it says.
Oh,
yeah,
First paragraph. Bradley retired,
okay.
so. I don't know why he didn't want to stay on it.
This is a police chief here.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion to,
Mike, before you jump into that, can I ask a question about the resolution itself?
yes, sir.
On that first paragraph, it says the resignation of Brad Sibley representing medical. What's representing medical? What's that portion on there?
I'm not sure just whether they're relating to the ambulance service end of it, Charlie, or
I didn't know if
exactly
there was
what
a
it
specific
is.
designation or something.
Medical, I would classify it in my own opinion that it would apply to that. Kevin, can you maybe highlight on that? It could be a typo if you want to, okay, because I think 911 meets,
I'm sorry?
we meet next week on that, don't we?
Yes, yes. In fact, it's the 19th. So at 5 o'clock, they had to move it up.
It's the same night as the county board meeting.
Right.
Only it's at 4 o'clock instead of 5.
But that was the information I received. It wouldn't be a long meeting, what Shelley said. She said we'd be out in time so we could.
Okay,
For the county board meeting.
so what's our best move on this, Charlie? Should we table this until we make the correction? Or
For the
at
medical
least,
part?
pardon me?
For the medical part, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, to clear,
I think you can still make the motion to send it along to the full board with that change, or if it does need to be changed.
okay.
I just don't know what it is. That's why I asked the question.
I think it's just, it might be a
Clerical error.
clerical error more than anything else.
What if we made a motion to send this to county board with the correction of medical, and hopefully Keen can meet with them and then we could have it ready for that full board meeting that night?
And you guys don't have to approve this resolution as it stands right here. I mean, that's going to go to the full board anyway. What you're just
Right.
doing right now is just making a motion to send the appointment of Stephen Howell to the full board.
Okay,
to
so I'll
executive to the
entertain a
full board.
motion to that effect. Mr. Hudson. Next motion, Mr. Zeman seconds. Any questions? Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? So carried. Okay, let's see. We don't have anything scheduled under old business, nothing under new business. We tabled the, we tabled that, didn't we? The UTV ordinance, okay. Anything for executive session at all? Charlie, you have anything?
Nothing I'm aware of.
Okay, any other questions or comments before we close the door? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved
make
by
that
Mr.
motion.
Nicholson, seconded by Mr. Scrogstad. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed can stay by yourself. Thank you. Appreciate it.